she doesn't. That's what. That's how I was trying to tell her that you can have. Sir, this is for you.
Yeah. I'll have samosa. I'll have it because I feel very bad on one side. I try not.
If I have to have it hot. So that's how I'm like without. I'm shameless on this.
No, there's nothing to be, shameful about.
Okay, let's get started. Good evening, welcome. Sorry for the delay. Let's get started. Welcome to our fourth session on the TiE program from Vizag. Today we're going to talk about pitch deck preparation. What are the things that you need to do, but not just the pitch deck preparation, but delivery. Delivery is something that most likely would also concentrate on, but I wanted to just quickly mention that this is what we're going to cover. Now when we talk about pitching and what do you need pitching for? Why do you pitch? The presentation and just why are we pitching in the first place?
Investors की
Sell
మన business ఏంటి అని మనకి.
Okay, so for getting an investor to invest in our company, okay, that's the only thing, right?
Sell the idea and get investment and to, on the other side also to get feedback on how we can improve from experienced people, how we can improve the model.
Okay, okay. So you are also going to do a pitch to get feedback and improve on the pitch.
If the pitch will be successful only for one part to be provided. But my idea is for the process, and the final is bonus, whatever it is. But the learning is most important. I am looking at it in that way.
Okay.
But the idea of pitching is, when you ask, yes, is to sell the idea and get investors.
Okay.
Show the prospects.
Simple, just one word for pitch what I have is, or what I've been doing all these days is just to tell what I'm doing. What is my business doing?
Why?
Because I'm solving a problem. So I'm actually solving the problem, how I'm solving it, how they are going to get benefit from it, and in turn how I am going to grow in terms of product, money, employment, and so on. So that's what different I'm going to do, and
Yeah,
how it's
but-
going to solve the problem.
Okay, so what's your ultimate purpose? So it's
People
just to
should
inform.
know. People
To
should know.
inform people.
Yeah, very.
Okay. So I'll actually take you a step back to something else that I wanted to that we normally do when we talk about public speaking and presentations, because presentations are a slightly different version of public speaking, because you're using a tool to help you in addition to whatever you're going to convey. And there are three major reasons why you would you would do a speech. Because, the first thing is, what's the difference between, what's our speech? You're doing something in a structured, deliberate manner with an intention to, and the three major reasons are to inform. I want to inform. Or I want to influence. I want to convince, I want to persuade, I want to motivate, I want to, in a negative manner, manipulate. Right? But primarily inform, influence. And there is a third reason that you can also do public speaking, give a speech, would be to entertain. There are people who mix entertainment into the first two categories. You can do a mix of all three. But primarily, you're either informing, you're influencing, or you could say, okay, I'm doing this just for sheer entertainment of the people who are listening to me. Now, what's the difference between a presentation and a speech? The presentation is basically presenting whatever information that you want in a structured manner. more structured and easy to understand manner. And PowerPoint or any other tool is just a tool that should help you do better. So I don't want to get into that because we want to concentrate on this and there's lots of things that we need to cover. But given that, you were saying that okay, I am pitching to basically inform, according to what she said, and you two, both of you are saying I'm pitching to influence somebody to give me money, to like my idea and give me money, right? In my view, there are a couple of other reasons why I would encourage people, and I've talked to people. One, to pitch in a lot of places, small places before you go for a big investor and all of that, to get some practice and improve and so on. But my take is that you're also pitching to brand to increase awareness about your product or your service, your business, right? But another reason is that I want people, I may be pitching in order to attract co-founders or in order to attract employees. Somebody that I come and give you a fantastic presentation about I'm changing the world in this manner. And when you say that and say that's a great presentation and all of that, there are people who are going to say, and if you say, I don't want money, I want somebody to partner with me. You have these shows where people say, I'll give you this much money for this much stake, right? When they do those shows, some people actually say, look, I don't want money. I wanted to get on the show because the reach is huge and now my product is going to sell or my service is going to sell. There's another reason why they're doing that maybe they're not doing it deliberately, but sometimes it would help to do it that way. They're getting that investor to be a partner rather than an investor because they have the connections that they need to make it a big, make the product or a service, basically make the company more successful. So the other reason is that you can do this to attract founders, co-founders, attract partners, and also you may be doing this because you want to attract employees. If you are going and saying I'm changing the world, most people are going and, according to studies, lots of people are unhappy in their jobs. And they're doing it only because the money is there. If they didn't care about money, they wouldn't be doing the job, all of that. So in that situation, if you are going to say, here is something that's attractive, this is what we do, this is how we are helping and so on, that makes changes things and people will approach you and say, can I work with you, right? So one of the things that I've observed with Waste Connect and a couple of other organizations is that she attracts people who say, hey, you're doing interesting work, I want to be a client of yours, or I want to, can we work together, can we partner, and so on. Right? So that's something that I wanted you to keep in mind, that's also a possibility. Many times it's not just employees, it could be interns. Young people listening to you say, I'm interested in this, can I work with you? This is an area that I want to learn. Maybe they have an aspiration to become an entrepreneur like you, and this is a field. They're exploring fashion. They're trying to explore the world. So what you're doing makes sense. And therefore, they're going to say, I'd like to join hands with you and e-waste or other ways I want to basically do this, right? So those are other options that are available for you. Don't think of pitching as only for investment sake. Having said that, so this is something that I borrowed from Deepak. He had other things to do, otherwise I was trying to get him to do this. He's already done this in a few places. including last year when you were there. But basically we have a 10-step process that we prescribe. Uh, Start with a clear objective, know your audience, keep it simple, tell a story, highlight the problem that you're solving, emphasize your USP, talk about your team, tell them that you already started gaining some traction, and what's your business model, and then finally what we were just talking about till now. I am here to ask you for this. I would like you to invest $1 million in my company for 7% or 20% stake in the company. Start with that. So when we talk about that, we will go step by step with each of those 10 points. So when we talk about that clear objective, what's the main purpose of your pitch deck? What I had talked about. Right, and all three of you were talking about this. I just want to simply introduce my company. I want to recruit partners, co-founders. Of course, the first one, the big one, is the securing of funding. In the case of what we are doing, what you will be doing, and why we are here, is to help you prepare for your pitches and mock pitches that we'll be doing 2 weeks from now, and the actual pitch competition that we'll be doing for the chapter finals, so that you are at a particular level, and then we plus the global, TiE Global, are going to help you in terms of fine-tuning and doing other things before you go to the actual finals in Bangalore. Okay, so that's another reason we should mention, Sumini, that we pitch to practice and improve and get feedback. Right? The thing is, if you don't start with a goal, you can travel anywhere, you can wander anywhere. And so we are saying, hey, this is my objective, this is why I want to do this, and therefore you know that what are the steps that you need to take to reach that particular goal and the objectives that you have set for yourself. Yeah.
So as we had, both of them had one intent, mine was a different intent, maybe which is inclusive in their intent as well.
Okay.
They are informing and attracting the investor. I mean, that is how they are preparing their pitch for. Whereas I am only to inform, let people know what I am doing.
Yeah.
So when I am actually pitching, and when I know that the audience or the panel is going to judge me on a particular thing, so do I actually mention that this I am presenting this to in benefit or in keeping in view the panelists who are going to be my investors, or is it just that?
No. It's automatically, most of the times you understand the situation ahead of time.
Okay.
See, like for example, if you are pitching in a TiE Global the women's competition, it is it's clear that you are there, of course, to a byproduct is winning the competition. But the big thing there is that there are investors sitting in the audience, and you are telling them this is what I want from you. It's the judges themselves could be investors, and they might say, okay, we'll invest in you, irrespective of whether you win the prize or not. But the other people sitting in the audience are also listening, and some of them, if not many of them, in the TiE Global Summit will be investors who are looking at, is this an opportunity that I want to look at? Because if you look at this, the number of teams or companies or individuals that have signed up for TiE Women across the globe is what, 1,600 applications, right? Now, what's coming to Bangalore is basically those, all the 1,600 filtered and sorted out and all of that, and the cream is coming to the top. Some of them at the chapter level, if the chapters then get good members, they'll get eliminated. But there are others who went through a rigorous process in their particular chapters to get to that level, and they were beating out very strong competition at their end, and therefore they are going to be there, and these are good companies where they are actually making money, and therefore that's the traction that I was talking about. And therefore people would be very interested in listening to them. Of course, there could be a social component to it. There could be a bias, a positive bias, in the sense that they're saying, I want to help women entrepreneurs. I would like, we don't have enough women entrepreneurs in our portfolio, and therefore I'd like to be there. Many, venture capitalists and, private equity investors just probably will be there. Definitely VCs, I don't know about the
So
PEs.
this pitch preparation will definitely be, it's like an investor pitch, right?
Yeah, this one is
It's
definitely
definitely an investor pitch,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, unless you are saying, I'm a large company, I just want you to, do this, you will, the chances of you going through to the next level are only if you are so good at your pitching that, my belief, by the way, because we are doing this for the first time in Vizag, and therefore there are lots of things that we are learning ourselves also. But my belief is that if you're saying I'm just there to show you that I'm a good company or a great company, they're probably not really going to get you past the chapter level itself. But even if you get past that gate, at the semi-finals level, they're probably going to take you out, because they're like, if you don't want money, if they're only for the prize, maybe we'll consider it, but other factors will come in, right? Because one, you remember the judging criteria. What is the scalability, right? What are the things that we are, how innovative is this? What is the possibility of, this becoming a big thing? And how attractive is it for in return on investment? How good is that? We're going to look at all of that, market opportunity, the whole TAM, SAM, and so on, right? So they're going to look at all of those, which means that, if you're going to say, I don't really care about TAM, SAM, and so on. I mean, you wouldn't say it that way, but if you're not.
Please, whatever preparation, it is specifically an investor pitch, not
Yeah.
awareness pitch.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest that we do, rather than just information giving pitch, because if there is no ask, the chances of people really saying, yes, there is somebody that I can help. Because why are we doing this? We're doing this because we want to help women entrepreneurs. And if the women entrepreneurs are saying, I don't need your help, all I'm telling you is, this is my company, this is what we do, then you have other ways to do
So
that.
like, for instance, if investment is not my only requirement, in case I want collaborations,
Yeah.
I want franchisees, like, I want, this module to be there in every city of India,
Yeah.
and I want to collaborate. It's not that I want to expand. I want to tap the local talent over there, the local services over there, and expand myself. So that is a different type of pitch, right?
Yeah.
That is
I mean,
not
yeah.
an investor pitch.
Yeah, because you're not asking them for any investment.
We are asking for collaborations.
Yeah.
So
And
do
the
we need to
chance of-
mention that
Even
I'm
a
presenting-
franchisee or a collaboration is some kind of investment only.
Not always.
No, she
not
is
always.
looking at, yeah.
I
but
need to
you'll-
take her franchise, I have to
Agreed.
pay her something.
Agreed, and I see your point.
Some kind of investment only.
Yeah.
So when you're
However-
selling your service or your idea, so why don't you start a same thing? It's as good as, it's an extension of your thing.
However, the reason why I'm saying I'm stopping you from going further is that there are not going to be people sitting there, the crowd that's listening to you is not there coming for franchisee opportunities. They're there to invest, right? And sometimes they're there to get themselves, motivated by what you're doing. So if you say I'm looking for franchisees, or that by itself will not work. If you say I'm looking for partners, the partners should be, as Suvini was mentioning, you want the partners to invest. I want partners to do the same thing in the Middle East. partners to do the same thing in Europe.
Mm.
It is taking me, it's costing me 1 crore to set up things here in India or to set up things in Andhra Pradesh. But for me to do the same, I need to expand to Europe and Middle East, and which means that I need another 50 crores. Somebody will spend 50 crores to do something similar there, and 100 crores in another location. So then you're talking about an investment partner who is investing, and you're trying to work with them. So maybe they'll be willing to listen. That's my take on it. I could be
Every
wrong.
ask maybe has to be converted into money terms
Yeah,
and
that's
presented so that it is easy for them to. We
Yeah.
should not be giving them a formula for them to solve. We should solve it and put it straight on.
Yeah,
the list.
absolutely. Because unless you're giving a solution, if you're saying I have a problem, I have a solution, everything is there, I don't need your money. All I need for you to do is add something to, all I need for you to is give me access to somebody or expand to other places, or if you're doing something similar, join me. Then the crowd that is there is not. Most of the times the crowd won't be in that frame of mind at all. So they definitely look at, hey, I'm here in Australia, we are sitting here, and if they feel that you are doing a great job in your business, whatever model that you have, they might say, would you be interested in partnering with us for expanding to Australia? But they could be doing that. But you going and saying, I'm only looking for partners, I don't need your money and other things, is probably not a wise idea for this time and global competition. Okay?
But there are other pitching platforms which is
Yeah,
giving
absolutely.
such kind of spaces other than funding also.
Absolutely. Which actually brings me to this, an answer to that question. What is knowing your audience? Because if you don't know that these are investors that are only looking for early stage startups, these are people, what I learned a long time ago is there are 3 different categories of people. One category, actually there is the one category of, basically there are angel investors. Anything from 0 to 1 lakh, they are there to help you. They are there usually. Again, these are not rigid numbers.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximate numbers. What did I say?
Angel investors.
No, the range.
1 lakh.
Sorry. It's
10 lakhs, huh?
No, 50 lakhs. 0 to 50 lakhs
50 lakhs.
are angel investors. And by the way, these numbers are from the first time that I heard, 10 years ago. So it could have changed because valuation of money in India has, come down and others.
Yeah,
So
at least we'll get an idea of
yeah,
this.
anything from 50 lakhs to
Alco partner have a list of angel investors.
Alco partners knows of a few, but there are lots and lots of angel investors across India itself.
In Vizag.
No,
Or
angel investor in
startups.
Vizag, no. We don't know of any angel investor in Andhra Pradesh as a matter of fact. The only organization that we are aware of, or at least people have told us is, TiE are the only ones who are doing angel investment. There is nobody else who's here saying that specifically we are mentoring and investing in startups.
So Alco Partners is an angel investor.
We are a mentoring company as well as, yes, we have been doing angel investments. We are very selective though. We, unless it's, it feels like it's very attractive, and we've learned a lot of lessons over the past 7-8 years that we've been in existence. So, it depends on the opportunity. If it's something that we see that, yes,
First would be to pitch to Alco partners and then serious
yeah,
investor pitch. So we can actually cross this bar, I think we'll be eligible. We have a second one, right? So you can take a break.
There are other things also. So, you know, as we mentioned earlier, there are people who are, you're talking in front of a bunch of people from the healthcare industry, hospitals. Everybody is into hospital administration or management, and your business is about healthcare. Then you're saying, okay, this is something that we are doing, and mine is I'd like to get partners. For example, I have a friend who they have a startup company called Swasa, which basically monitors your chest health through a cell phone. They have an app that resides on your smartphone, and you cough into it, and it tells you whether you have, actually they're right now working on almost predicting TB, or now they can predict. I'm not 100% sure where they're at, but it was predicting COVID. How likely are you to have COVID based on your cough? How likely are you to have TB or some other?
So they're sensing the sound?
Based on the sounds. Based on the sounds. Because, again, I don't know enough about it, but the little bits that I know, when a physician is looking at your chest and hearing your sound and they're asking you to cough, right? They're basically hearing the sounds that your lungs are making. And they're based on that, they're saying, okay, it's this. So if you're programming that into your app, your software, and you're able to even do better than a regular physician, because sometimes they may mistake it. If the parameters are clearly defined, it can be better. It could be a possibility. I'm not saying it's better than a physician. What little I know about that company, I'm telling you. So, but they are going and talking to different hospital groups in India. They are going and talking to different in healthcare seminars and conferences all over the world. So when they go there, they're pitching, and they're saying this is what we are doing. In some cases, they're pitching for a grant. In some cases, they're pitching for partnerships and saying, hey, you seem to be the right kind of a thing. So in some cases, they're visiting a client, potential client, or potential partner, hospital, group of hospitals, and saying, can you do this? For example, they partnered with KGH, or they were getting data from KGH by partnering with them. So that's another thing. Okay, so what is it? And of course, you're just plain selling your product or service to a client, to the end user, customer. So I cannot emphasize this enough. The huge thing about your presentation is you need to keep it really simple and as jargon-free as possible. Even though there are certain jargons which investors are used to, and therefore they're going to ask you that. But you can't expect people who are not familiar with that particular area that you're in to understand exactly what you mean. So it's better to be able to, try to make it simple and easy for everybody to understand.
So keep the presentation jargon free and
except for the,
question.
There are things that investors are going to look for, right? And in your finances, your total addressable market, your serviceable addressable market, your serviceable obtainable markets, the Samsung things that they're talking about. Those people are aware, and so you can mention those. But first-time users, for example, if you pitch at one of our startup Saturdays, there are a lot of people who are first-time listeners. They have no idea what they are. So when you are talking to them, you need to be able to explain to them and say, this is what it means. And that's why knowing your audience is important. Once you know that, if you know, for example, that you're talking to a hospital and the pitch that you're making is completely medical terminology, then obviously you can use jargon. But otherwise, avoid that, and yeah, don't make things really complicated. You can use pictures, you can use images, you can use graphs, others to tell people what you're trying to convey, but it should pop out at them quickly that I can see what you're trying to convey by looking at them. Because the big thing about presentations is people should not be looking at the screen, they should be looking at you all the time. And you should, as much as possible, you should avoid looking at the screen. You should just be looking at your audience all the time because eye contact matters. Those are the other things that I wanted to cover. I said delivery also, right? So that's something that I'm talking about. So people have different styles. Speaking of delivery, we'll come to it at the end when we cover that, because right now you're busy looking at this. Short sentences, bullet points, make sure that you don't have, keep it clear, not really distracting backgrounds. A lot of people don't know, they go and put, contrasts are really poor. Most of us don't really do a good job at graphics and graphic design. So getting somebody who's a professional to do that, or at least enlisting somebody to help you would be useful. So the ones that really tell you the most impactful presentations are the ones where you are able to tell a story. You are able to say, this is what my journey has been, and this is what we have been doing. For example, somebody like Airbnb that Deepak mentioned last time when we spoke, telling people that Airbnb, if the Airbnb people came to us here and were talking to us, if they say we got thought of this idea that hey, it's very expensive in San Francisco to have a place, to come and rent a place over here. It costs $100, $150 and higher per night to go in a hotel, and there are lots and lots and lots of people who can't afford that, and they'd like to look at lots of cheaper options. And we got started by saying, hey, we have this extra sofa over here. How about trying to see if somebody will rent that sofa from us? The space, they have access to a bathroom, they have a sofa, they put it on Craigslist, and it actually worked out when somebody signed up for it. They figured out a few things that were happening, and so they fixed that before they officially went and created an app. And all of this, by the way, I understand they were doing it on using a spreadsheet. This customer coming at this time, these are the details, this is the date of coming, this is the date of leaving, and this is how much money we quoted, this is their payment information and so on. Only after they tried it out a couple of times and figured out how to work on it, did they then go and say, okay, we'll create an app around it. Actually, more closer to home, the story that we heard in the TiE Globals, TiE Globals for the Young Entrepreneurs program is Phanendra Sama, who created, founder of Redbus, sitting all the way in Nalgonda. He told us the story about how he said, there was a pain point for him. I was trying to go from Bangalore back, I was coming back from Bangalore to Hyderabad during Deepavali time, and there were no buses available. I went to one shop, they called a few people and they said no, and then I went to another, they said no, and so on. And then he went back to his room and said, okay, if I am going through this, then there must be a lot more people going through this, so let me go and find out how to work on this. And the way that they got started again is they basically did either a piece of paper and pen and paper or an Excel sheet where they took down details. This just like the shop does. Very similar to the travel agents that are sitting in the skilly buddies and calling up things and saying, okay, I have the seat available here, you want it, and okay, book one, get the payment, and then give the commission and all of that. He made lists like that. And then, they were able to get a few customers. But when they went to the bus owners, the transport companies, and said, I want, we want to work with you. Give us your bus details so that we can get you customers. All of them apparently said, no, not interested. They all sent them away. So these people said, okay, we'll do what all of these guys are doing. We'll just organize it better, and started giving customers. Once these bus fillers realized, the transport companies realized that, the fleet owners, oh, these people are sending us lots of customers. They called them now, the ones who rejected them, called them back and said, we are interested. That's how they got into agreements and, got it more. And they realized that these guys are much more professional, they're much more organized. And then finally they went and created the app, right? And that's the story that he mentioned. And that story was so attractive because it made us understand how Redbus got started. For us, we just know redbus.in, I need to go there and I need to book my buses or I need to book whatever I want. But we don't know that this is how it started and this is how it happened. And once you know that, it makes a lot more sense for you and you connect better. That's what you should be doing with what you're talking about, right? So if you take Waste Connect, I see so many people throwing away so many things. I see people in their houses and in their offices keeping unused electronic items and other things piled up because they don't want to throw it away, but they don't know how to reuse it, how to recycle it, and whatever reason. And that's when I realized that this is something that not just me, but hundreds of people are experiencing this. At least a few people that I talked to in my friend circle. I then reached out to other companies and other individuals and found that they're also saying the same thing. And that's how I started Waste Connect. Right? There is some kind of a story. I went to Manajangi, Vizag or Araku's Manajangi,
Hill station.
Yeah. So this you can see, what is it calling it? Something in the clouds. So I was amazed at the beauty of the place. It was fantastic. But then I just looked around and going up and down that place, it was just a mountain of trash. And that mountain of trash made me realize that we are not being very conscious and our tourism is not sustainable. Our travel is not sustainable. And also, I realize that people just go, see everybody's seeing these places, so I'll also go there. And most people are so busy taking selfies and pictures and all of that, they never even experience that place at all. And they're coming back and saying, I went and saw these places, but they can only show pictures. Inside, they don't have anything that gives them a good memory. They have memories only in their phone, not in their head. And that's when I realized that think travel is what is required. And I got started with it. Right? A story where you're going to say, lots of people use different kinds of makeup, but how many are going, I found out when I was doing thorough research that there's snail mucin that can be used. Very few people know about it. And I thought, hey, why not do this over here, because we have access to these things. And because of my background in biochemistry, or because of my background in my friend's background in this, we partnered, my brother, and we partnered, and together we've started this where it's a natural thing. We're not using any artificial ingredients, and therefore it's not going to harm you like most artificial ingredients that are used in other makeup. And while we are doing this, we are not harming any snails. We're guaranteeing you that nothing is happening to the snails and nothing is happening to we haven't experimented on any animals and hurt them, people are going to be connecting with those kinds of stories. And that's what you should be looking at, right? Even, Avani Organics and the story that Shilpa was talking about in terms of the toys that she's, what's that?
Gulab print.
Gulab prints. There's a story behind it. This is what I used to do and this is what I observed, and therefore, as a part of my journey as this person, I've realized that good organic food or good toys are there. And Shilpa tells that story also about how she observed that she was able to, people were not finding the toys that they needed to, so therefore she was using it. She came up with this, and her margin also was better for international users for these toys. So, that, right? So the starting with a hook. How many of you are aware of what this hook is? Do you understand that?
I can't explain, but
But
I
you understand.
understood the fact.
Okay. So 42 lakh children in India have failed their 10th standard exam. India needs to immediately change the education, the way we are delivering education, and the way that we are looking at education. That's a hook. Something that actually, but a hook can be something which is a shocking fact. Did you know that every single one of us, if you're a non-vegetarian, if you're eating fish, 90% of the fish have microplastics in them. So what all of us are consuming are microplastics. That suddenly makes people say, oh my God, I should do something about it. So something that could be shocking, something that could be a statistic that makes people stand up or sit up and take notice. Something that is also very intelligent. Did you know that you could buy a watch for 3,000 rupees and it's the same as a 1,25,000 rupee watch, or it's similar features to a 1,25,000 rupee watch? Probably something that people are going to say. Sometimes, of course, it can hurt you, and they can say, "Oh, some guy, this is something fake, this is something unbelievable," and you say, "Yes, I know what you're thinking. I know that you're thinking that you're doing some fake stuff and all of that, but I guarantee you, here is a model. You can see it for yourself and show it to them live, and therefore, so those are the hooks, right? I already told you about the personal anecdote. I saw it in my own house, and therefore this is happening. I was traveling, and this is what is happening. There is that. And then you can also then look at, okay, this is a problem, and this is the solution that I have for this problem. Everybody has been looking at the problem from this perspective, but we need to look at this problem from a different, I have a different solution for this problem, and give a framework for that. We all think about education and say, well, education is not good. Education needs to improve and all of that. Higher education, all of that. But how many people really care about or talk about primary education? There are enough people who talk about it, but among them, how many are actually talking about it from the perspective of the child growing up into a productive adult, a happy and productive adult? And here is what we are doing with the way that we are working on this, right? We are following the Japanese model. Till 5th standard, no exams. zero exams until 5th standard, children automatically keep moving along and they keep going, and so we take that pressure of passing ranks, all of that out of the system. And of course, we have, I'm thinking of medical things which I want to avoid, but the medical thing would be that we try, or you could look at, I'm afraid of the claims that are made, so I don't want to really give this example, but I'm thinking of, if you consume this particular product of ours, right? We have created this juice, and this juice, if you consume every day when you're having your meals, it will improve your gut health, and we've seen that over a sample size of 10,000 people or whatever number of people, right? The impact on real people. Then you're able to say this. That's again an attractive thing for people to understand. This is a nice story for me to listen to, right? The Gulab tribe thing, the Kondapalli toys, not Kondapalli, Edukopaka toys that are there. Lots of people are trying to say we'll help and so on. But you could talk about, look, earlier the villagers were doing this and now they're doing this. Or, we have one person, one of our members, Ramkumar Verma, who's doing native Araku coffee. Earlier there were people who were in Araku tribal area, they were basically just making a living out of some local stuff here and there. He went in there and said, partnered with them. Now he's increased their wealth for, out of all the money that the sale, out of each sale that he has, a certain percentage of that cost is basically going to them, and the other percentage is what he's keeping, the margin that he's keeping, and therefore he's been able to bring about a change in 5 villages. Bring about a change in one village consisting of 100 people. Whatever, real people impact, and you're saying now they're healthier, happier, they have employment, they are not sitting idle, and they're not waiting on somebody to give them something, free money, this and that, and that's the impact, right? So you can talk about those also. And whatever problem you're solving, there needs to be clear about how you're addressing that, or rather, articulate that problem well. Many of the times, one of the things that's happening in that we see, and a lot of people keep telling me this across the TiE network, this is what I've heard from my limited experience with TiE, but even before that from other people. Most people don't know how to articulate the problem. Actually, you don't even know the problem well. You're coming up with solutions without understanding the problem well. If you understand your problem and you're able to clearly state it in a way that a 5-year-old will understand, or your grandmother will understand, then you have already solved more than 50% of the problem, because now you clearly understand what is going on, right? Everybody talks about going back to education. Everybody talks about quality education or improving education, but nobody actually knows, or rather defines, what they mean by, understands really what does education mean, right? So if you are able to clearly state that, then that's going to make a big difference in terms of you coming up with a solution that's acceptable to a lot of people.
This grandma thing is actually very, very practical, and from my experience, like whomever I have been telling, very polished speakers, if you can convince your grandma, your product is sold. People will just, I mean, if she is going to like, or at least she's convinced with whatever you have to tell her. She understands. First thing is she needs to understand. Second thing is she needs to be convinced. So go and pitch to your grandma. So that is one very practical and thing.
That's one of Divakar's favorite.
Huh.
Like whenever he talks to the people participating in the hackathons, or some speech that he gives, I remind him, talk about the 3 points: hammer, hammer, 100-rupee note, and grandmother.
Hammer is okay. I think
Yeah. So his favorite thing, which I guess now that I brought it up, I have to tell you instead of keeping you in suspense. When you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. And so you start banging the nail in. But you need to understand, what is the purpose of that, and do I really need this, or do I need some other tool? So solution can't be whatever you found. Hammer. So solution is bang, 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 and the 100-rupee note, or in his case $10 note, from how he started and changed it now, I guess, is you're walking along the road and you see a 100-rupee note on the ground, and other people are walking by. Nobody is picking it up. You need to, before you pick it up, you need to first stop for a second. You can still pick it up, but you need to stop for a second and ask yourself, why is nobody else picking up that note? And then once you give yourself an answer that is credible or logical, you go ahead. But ask yourself, in the context of, you're trying to solve a problem and everybody, you say, okay, this is how I solve it. Everybody else could have solved that before you, right? Why didn't they solve it that way? What is the reason that they avoided that and tried to do something else? Is there a specific reason for it? For the idea, Shalini already explained about the grandmother, so I don't need to tell you that. But, one of the things that a lot of people, let me talk about myself. A while back, I used to be thinking, we have a lot of seawater, we are right on the beach, Bay of Bengal, they're never short of water. So we should never be short of drinking water. All we have to do is take the water, desalinate it, and you're happy to go. You can start, using it for the city's use, and we will never be, short of water. But why is nobody doing it? That's the case with so much of the coastline of India. Why didn't India do it? Why did no other country, why have most of the countries not done it? Right? So,
Maybe in Saudi Arabia.
it's super expensive.
Yeah, it's true.
And, just the capital cost and so many other things that are there are super expensive. And therefore, that's the reason why they're not doing that. At a small scale, you can do it. But then at a small scale, it's not useful other than for one glass of water.
Qatar or Dubai.
One of them is agree. Because
they can afford to.
they can afford to have.
Main is
They
they
are
can
taking
afford.
something else.
Yeah, exactly. Throwing it at us. So how does it, first if we understand the problem and we are able to articulate that problem, and that's where, for example, in your case, Subini, this is something where based on listening to you over the past, 3-4 times that you've talked about it, and I was asking you or others were asking you, you are not, you haven't.
Right point. I haven't.
Yeah, and one thing that I basically say is, they'd also tell you that how do you make people understand what you're doing in one phrase, not even one sentence, one phrase. So, I am an Uber for clothes. What does Uber do? Take you from one place to another without at the click of a button. And so I'm an Uber for clothes. Does it make sense? Probably not. So then you go and say, okay, that doesn't make sense. What does Uber for clothes mean? So maybe I'm a Amazon for Telugu speaking people, or maybe I'm a what do you call just as you have quick commerce for buying and selling items, I'm a quick commerce for loans.
Something
sorry.
like that, we need to
Yeah.
figure it out. Like I'm an Airbnb for responsible
Yeah.
tourism kind of.
Yeah. Right. So.
But it has to, this is where I'm also, been thinking in different ways, because there are different aspects of it. So which aspect of it should I be highlighting
Yeah.
to pitch?
Yeah.
You need not tell the entire structure of
Absolutely.
things at all.
Yeah.
You can have it in a conversation when you are doing, you have
Yeah.
all the time to do it.
Exactly.
But when I'm highlighting a problem, the biggest challenge, which I think when I think on the should I think on the traveler, should I speak the problem on the traveler side or on the receiver side or the people side? Which side is where I should stand when I'm mentioning the problem?
Your
Traveler,
client.
People.
traveler,
Your
client
clients,
side.
yeah. You always make your, what are you doing for your clients is what we should talk about, right?
Mm.
What exactly am I doing
So
for my
who is the
client?
traveler? So what is your
Where the money is coming? What is your question? No,
I am talking about traveler and people. So where are the people meeting?
Like,
She meant employees, the
not
service
employees,
providers.
the service providers or the community side or something, which is the beneficiaries, basically. When I'm speaking about the platform to be developed, it is about the entities which are disintegrated is what I'm mentioning in the problem statement now, which I wrote the problem statement less than 20 hours. So, but that is not there. I need to really think on it. So I need to mention it from the traveler perspective, because
Yeah.
traveler is the client, is this where the money comes from.
Beneficiary.
Yeah.
And it
So
need
it's-
not also incorporate the entire structure of my product
No,
line.
it wouldn't. It wouldn't. You're not going to do that because then it's going to become too much.
Complicated,
I
yeah.
would, yeah. I would say something like, there's this, something where we are the Kerala therapeutic centers for all travelers, seeking peace of mind and responsible travel. Something like that. Obviously, we are not going to get it in the first attempt, second attempt, 10th attempt. You have to keep trying to find if you can come up with something like that. My suggestion is that if you're able to put it in that way, then that means that you understood it well. That's important. It's actually not so much that, okay, how do I make them understand? How would I put it so that, everybody would understand? So for me to understand it well, what's a nice analogy for this? And I would say, oh, this is what you should do, and put it in that, like, Jyotsna's case. I am India's version of the Body Shop, right? Or I'm India's version of Versace or whatever brand that stands out for makeup. Take that and say, we are India's, or we are a more responsible Indian version of this, or more sustainable Indian version of this. where everybody knows that. If you go and say something where nobody knows about it, it hurts you.
Can mine be urban company for waste disposal?
Yeah, if you have a service providers that are coming to you and
Yes, I do.
yeah, something like that.
I mean, mine is a doorstep delivery.
Doorstep
Sorry,
delivery.
doorstep pickup. Doorstep
Ah.
pickup.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I can call it, right?
yeah, we are an urban company for waste
Yeah.
pickup.
Pickup. Yeah. Waste disposal.
Yeah.
Responsible waste disposal is what we are talking
Yeah, so
about.
that's what you would say. We're like, you can think of us as an urban company specializing in responsible waste disposal.
Mhm.
Something like that. Very quickly people understand, oh, urban company, there's electricians, plumbers, all of these carpenters and everything. So she's saying waste pickup.
So
Okay,
waste pickup.
Different kinds of waste pickup.
Yeah, waste pickup. Dry waste pickup. I would say.
Okay, so and yeah, so you talk about some numbers to basically tell them this is what is happening. One of the girls who is a participant in our workshops so far, she's talking about this soap that that is helping women going through their menstrual cycle, having there's certain problems that they have with this particular products, and I'm coming up with a different product that's helpful for them. So something like that, right? That people listening to you would connect and say, oh yeah, I understand.
How does the soap help in the menstrual problem?
No. Actually, this is not about helping in the menstrual problem. I don't want to say more because
Yes,
it's her idea, but regular soaps are not useful for certain body types when they're going through the menstrual cycle. So she's come up with a certain variety of soap that is going to be much more friendly and doesn't create skin rashes and other problems that normal soaps do. We should end quickly. So, yeah, what is your unique selling point? How are you different from others? If you're not going to be telling people what you're different from others, then they're going to look at you like, I'm not really that impressed. Honestly, that's what I was thinking about Jyotsna when she said, I am my Korean cosmetics. I am doing cosmetics, bringing them from Korea and selling them here. That's a trade-off, like I told you last time in the meeting. Until she mentioned that this is what we're doing, and they're like, oh, I did not understand what she was telling me. Now I understand, and now, having a conversation, I'm able to get more clarity on that, right? So, Waste Connect. There are lots of companies who are saying that we are e-waste providers, that we are, waste providers. In Vizag itself, there are 2 other people that are doing this. So how is this? What is she doing differently that, and what's the business model? How do you make money? Or how do you sustain it? Even if it's a sustainable business, or, you're not saying that you're a regular business, you're saying that I am going to be doing this with sustainability as my goal rather than pure profit making. But you can't depend on grants. You need to have a model that says I can recycle, or I can reuse, I can repurpose. So that's when the thing about I'm taking products that you don't use and I'm creating artwork out of it, or I'm making designs out of it, and I'm making things that people are happy to buy at a price that the price difference helps me to run my show. The margin helps me to run my show, or the margin helps me to run my show and also retain a small profit or a large profit, right? So, what is that is unique? How are you doing this? Right? Everybody is doing this, so how are you different? We have a startup that we are mentoring and investing in, Interview Buddy. And Interview Buddy provides mock interviews on demand, over the internet. Great. Now, but there are now, when we started, when that company started, there were, 3 or 4 players. Now every day there's one new player coming and saying we are going to provide you AI-driven interviews, and it's free. It's free, and you're like, oh, it's free. Why would I go and pay money to Interview Buddy if I'm going to get an interview for free through an AI-driven interview? And I can use as many interviews as I want in that, and here I keep every interview, I'll have to pay money. But then you need to, so then Interview Buddy now has to say, what are we doing differently? How are we unique? What value are we adding that people would say, yes, this makes sense, let me step in over here and say, use this, right? So, there's, one thing that they were talking about, I'll say we because we have been doing a lot of mentoring there. You don't need to download any software. It just runs through your browser. As long as you have an internet connection and you have preferably a desktop or laptop, because we don't want to, we didn't for a long time want to support a mobile version. I mean, having an interviewee standing and walking and taking an interview practice is not something that we want. And therefore we are saying, as long as you have an internet connection, a decent internet connection, and a laptop, a desktop, a computer, you are set to go, right? With web camera, of course. So, our restaurant has, our hotel has 90% capacity utilization all the time, all through the years, is something that most hotels would probably die for, from what I understand. So that's something. Some other things that you would say which make you unique. Nobody else sells this kind of clothing, right? My clothes are never going to smell because we've incorporated certain biology, when we used nature to do biomimicry, and therefore we've created this clothing and it's not going to smell. That's how some of the clothing companies have come up with wrinkle-free clothing. Of course, it turns out that there is an environmental cost associated with wrinkle-free.
Mosquito repellent clothing as well. There is a mosquito repellent clothing as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, about your team, do you have a diverse team? Are they able to, complement what you're doing? If everybody in your team is exactly like you, all of them are civil engineers, or all of them are accountants, or all of them are this, who's going to handle the different roles, and how will they, and group think? Everybody is thinking the same way, that doesn't help. So trying to get people from different backgrounds and showcasing their backgrounds. He has finance as his background, and that's why he's our Chief Financial Officer. I am somebody who's done sales a lot, of my life, and I've got more than a decade of experience in sales. So I am the Chief Marketing Officer, and this is the person who has run a company, a couple of companies before. So she is the Chief Executive Officer. Something like that, where you're able to quickly define, what their background and accomplishments are. Yeah, the text is enough for you to read, right? So if you have already, then look at companies that already have traction. Unless your idea is so brilliant that they believe that, oh, you'll go from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, they are going to, look at companies that actually are making money rather than companies that are saying we're still at idea stage. Because then it means that you haven't proven. The minute you're able to sell something to a customer, then you have validation. And if you don't have validation yourself, why will somebody go and give their money and say, here, go validate with my money? So that idea of having that revenue growth, some kind of, my CAC is this, customer acquisition cost is this, and things like that. Yeah.
That is one major criteria, in fact.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why
assessment, people who are actually, who have earned, who have made some money out of, have generated revenue, that is one selection criteria.
I believe that's why we have 15% weightage, 15 points weightage for
It should cross the ideation
I'm
stage.
interested in that. Now, one is the area that you are asking in the end, there needs to be asking for a funding requirement. So the funding requirement should connect with the problem statement.
Hmm.
No.
No, I'm just coming to my question. So in such a case, traction. Like for example, I have travels, tour programs. Tour program does not need any funding. To conduct a tour, which is not a problem statement from somebody. But not having a facility, the portal that I'm talking about is the problem statement that a traveler is facing to find the right kind of thing if he wants to travel more responsibly. So as long as that such a method of tour is not happened, is having done couple of tours, is that traction?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. See, what I am understanding from what you said, of what you said is, I don't have a platform, a technology platform for doing what I'm doing, but I already started doing what I wanted to do. That's what you're saying, right?
Not fully. Even
Can I
have
have a
Better way
question
of-
related to that question? Like she said that she has already done business.
Yeah.
She has organized for 4 travels,
Yeah.
right? So, okay. Like if each of them, they weren't as per how she is supposed to do, or what is in her mind?
not fully into the
Not
problem.
fully into what she has done. So
Agreed.
from travel 1, she has learned something, she added something to travel 2,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. But these 4 of them are actually not her complete what she wants to provide.
Yeah.
So are these considered as
Traction.
traction? Are these considered as
Money is coming
In
in
my-
some way. But that's
In my
okay.
view, yes.
Yes.
The reason why I'm saying that, maybe people will say it's wrong, maybe people will agree, but since you're listening to me and I'm sharing my views, in my view, traction is all about what is your revenue growth and how much is it costing you to get, how much is it costing you to get a customer? Okay, now every business that starts off and then pivots into different directions. Right? You're never going to be where you are when you started to where you are now. Right? Almost all the companies that we talk about, they did not start with where they are. Even the Airbnb example that I gave, as far as I remember, from what I remember reading, they started with, we'll rent out a sofa. And now they're going and saying, we'll rent out villas, we'll rent out rooms in a house, we'll rent out an entire apartment building. Nobody is living there, they're just renting that. And it's almost like you're renting out, but you're renting on a daily and weekly basis rather than months and years of leases. So they changed that into almost like a
how
hotel
is
model.
Airbnb Oyo different?
Airbnb Oyo. Oyo is just standardizing of hotel rooms, right? I think they're doing something else now. But Oyo is all about the people who want to pay low cost but want to get standardized experiences. Clean bathroom, between beds and safe places.
Airbnb
And they
is
said
about
we'll
if you
do
have
this.
if you have a space, which is not unused or something, you can actually rent it. It's more of a finding space.
See, in the US they had this idea of bed and breakfast. They basically flipped that bed and breakfast a little bit to I'm just renting out spaces, and they are occupying a space between hotels and this bed and breakfast where the family cooks and gives you breakfast the next day morning before this you go your way. Right? They came in the middle and they're saying people don't want to stay in a hotel room because hotel rooms for some people are too
Expensive.
no, expense is one area, but they are sanitized. They are too similar. If I go to one Marriott in one place and if I go to another Marriott in another city, or I go to Park Hotel, or I go to what is that?
Standardized. I mean, just
You know that there is a room, there is a bed, there is a TV, there is this, and it's just the same sanitized version that you get. There is no new charm, there is no,
Flavor.
oh, this looks nice. Whereas, if you go into somebody's house, and that house is neatly kept and maintained, you feel like, okay, I'm experiencing somebody else's house, which I may not experience on my own. They put their walls and decorations and other things. Their bathrooms will look different. Their view will be different. Because the standard for every hotel room is there is maybe a window, and if there is a window, there are curtains, and outside you might have a view, may not have a view. Whereas these are real houses and so on. So different kinds of things like that. But I would say that, like for example, when we talked about coming back to the interview buddy example, the founder Ujjwal came up with this thing that, well, students are having a problem and they have campus recruitments where even the best and brightest of students are totally afraid of interviews. And therefore they are, suffering from that, and I want to offer a solution. We took that and we kind of expanded it into a much bigger experience, and we worked with him and all of that. But if you look at that, it turns out that there were close to 0 students who were interested in taking that. They didn't want to pay. When he did the market survey, they said we'll pay 2,500, 2,000, more than 1,800, all of that. Less than 1,000 rupees they are not willing to pay. Because I can go for a movie, I can watch 4 movies, I can go out for dinner 5 times, whatever it is. But that, my interviews are going to come 6 months later, 3 months later, 2 weeks later. At that time I'll worry. Other reasons. It's not my responsibility to get a job. It's my college that took money from me, and therefore they need to get me a job. It is, unstated things, of course, that are there. The parents also say, why should I pay extra? They are charging me placement fees or something like that. So why should I pay more? Lots of different things. And the college is saying I used it to train the student or something else, and therefore it's not mine. So we went and pivoted. It ended up being that now you talk to the colleges and they are the ones who are going and saying, okay, we'll provide this for our students and we'll take money from the placement fee or we'll charge them extra, whatever. So you're never going to be where you are when you got started. I'm guaranteeing you that you will also not be where you are when you got started with your first client to what you're going to be doing when you cross 100 clients. You will change a lot of things in what you're offering. You're going to totally customize it and say, I am going to run my own thing, these people don't know how to make this happen. Or you will do something else. That part I'm not predicting. But what I'm predicting is this idea that for this first client, this is what I did, or this is what we delivered. The 4th client, this is what we delivered. right? There's a difference already according to what you're saying. So, then this is extremely important. You need to have your business model, and what I would say is rather than you should really concentrate on the lean canvas that Deepak talked about, and put up your lean canvas on your slides to talk about it, because that's what somebody can quickly understand and say, okay, who's your customer segment, what are your channels that you're doing, what are your costs, what are your revenue opportunities, and so on. And yeah, so how are you going to, what about your pricing, what about your distribution, what about your marketing strategies? Those things are what you're going to look at.
You need not put any numbers or financials on this thing.
No, financials are going to come in the previous one, right? Evidence of traction. I have certain this much money. This is where in terms of your your marketing.
No, I'm asking projections and all in marketing.
Projections you should, because you should have it ready at least.
If question comes, you need to
Yeah.
have it. Sure.
Yeah, you should definitely have that ready.
Otherwise, shouldn't be cluttering with lot of number games.
If you can put it in a way that people understand, put it. Otherwise, don't, and then
Unless
you
the
can
main
add
one.
that. Yeah, but they're going to ask you anyway. It's not like you can hide. Finally, what we discussed at the very beginning. What are you asking for? What do you want? Right? In the case that you're not doing a competition, then you're saying, I want let's meet up and discuss this partnership opportunity later. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So, questions? We have about 6 minutes for questions. Apparently, the guy from Roller is to try and close this
ట్రాక్షన్ ఉంది కదా సో అసలు స్టార్ట్ చేయలేదు సో అప్పుడు మనం ఎలా
యా సో మీరేం చేస్తారంటే అప్పుడు నాకింత నేను ఇంకా మొదలు పెట్టలేదు బట్ ఐఎమ్ కరెంట్లీ ఇన్ మై కస్టమర్ డిస్కవరీ ఫేజ్. ప్రస్తుతానికి నేను R&D అయిపోయింది. కస్టమర్స్కి ఎలా అమ్ముదాం ఎంతకు అమ్ముదాం అని చెప్పుకున్నాను. ఆ మోడల్లో ఉన్నాను ప్రస్తుతానికి అని చెప్పాలి. Because if you don't have customers, there's not really much you can do other than saying. So one suggestion that I have, again, from my personal view is, so you don't want to make it a negative, kada. అయ్యో నాకు అసలు డబ్బులు రావట్లేదు అందుకని డబ్బులు రానప్పుడు వాళ్ళు డబ్బులు ఎందుకు ఇస్తారు అని. కానీ మీరేమో నాకు I have patented technology. My process is patented. Nobody else knows how to do this particular, produce this ingredient in this manner. And I've got a patent. Patent, there are 2 or 3 agencies in Andhra Pradesh that will do it for you for free. So then you say, I have a patent. That patent value is something that people will understand, and therefore they're going to say, okay, this is something that's a patented idea, which means that I should look at it. And and this lady has understood how she wants to market it. She's understood this part. It's only a matter of getting started, but I see that we can see that it will grow. That's how you need to pitch it to them. That show them that even though you currently don't have money, మీ దగ్గర ప్రస్తుతానికి ఇంకా అమ్మట్లేదు కానీ అమ్మడం మొదలు పెడితే జనాలు బోల్డంత మంది కొనేస్తారు అంటే అదొకటి. రెండోది మీరు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఐఎమ్ ఇన్ ద You go to portals like Kickstarter and other places and say this is what I'm developing. And there are people who will be happy to come and say, okay, I'll invest in you, and these are small, basically this is crowdsourcing of funding. ఒక్కొక్కరు ఒక ₹1000, 3000, 2000 ఇవ్వడం అలాగే డాలర్స్లో. సో అవన్నీ ఇస్తే మీరేం చేస్తారంటే అప్పుడు యూనో ఐ హ్యావ్ ఏమంటారు ఆర్డర్ బుక్ of 700 customers who are waiting for the product to be ready and be shipped. Or I have this wholesaler that I have talked to, and as soon as we finish our packaging, we'll be sending it to the wholesaler, and they're waiting for 25,000 units of this to try out. I have talked to these, whatever shops that are from, what is that, Reliance stores or Walmart or whatever, the international or local companies, DMart things, and they are ready to shelf my stock as soon as I've gotten into a deal with them. We're just finishing the last phases. అవి కానీ ఉంటే మీ దగ్గర అవి ఉన్నాయి అని చెప్తే దెన్ దే విల్ బి లైక్ ఓ ఓకే కరెంట్లీ డబ్బులు రాలేదు కానీ ఇది షిఫ్ట్ చేసిన వెంటనే ఎన్నాళ్ళు పడుతుంది అది చేయడానికి, నెల పడుతుంది, 6 నెలలు పడుతుంది, 3 నెలలు పడుతుంది అంటే యా మేబీ ఐ డోంట్ నో హౌ లాంగ్ that gap is, but that's something that we can definitely look at. Because you need to be able to tell them that I am thinking about sales, I am already doing that, ఆ పని ఆల్రెడీ మొదలు పెట్టాను, అక్కడికి ఇక్కడికి తిరిగి చెప్తున్నాను వాళ్ళతో, వాళ్ళు రెడీగా ఉన్నారు. నేను చిన్న చిన్న శాంపిల్స్ నేను ఇంట్లో చేసి ప్రయత్నించడం ఉన్నాయి నా దగ్గర, అవి తీసుకెళ్ళి చూపిస్తే
ఆ samples, whatever she has made, if at all they are not penetrated into the market, if she doesn't have a set of feedback giving customers, or if it is not tested on her, how can even the investor have confidence in her patented version also, when the product has not yet into the market? Or
she would have tested something.
Yeah, if she would have tested, so
ఇంకా అంటే జనరల్గా సిమిలర్ కాంపోజిషన్తో మనం వర్కౌట్ చేసాం. సో ఒక 10 people. సో అది ఏంటంటే కంప్లీట్లీ అది కొరియన్ ప్రోడక్ట్, కొరియన్ అట్మాస్ఫియర్కి సెట్ అవుతుంది. మన ఇండియాకి వచ్చేసరికి ఆ కొరియన్ ప్రోడక్ట్ మన అట్మాస్ఫియర్కి సెట్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇండియాకి ఏ పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఫార్ములేషన్ సెట్ అవుతుందో మనం చేసాం. సో
అది టెస్ట్ చేశారు. Because వేరే ప్రోడక్ట్ టెస్ట్ చేయటం లేదు,
సేమ్ మనం
What you are doing test
చేసాం. అంటే డిఫరెంట్ స్కిన్ టైప్స్ మీద
చేసాం కదా. That is important. Sir, I think I am adding to what you have said. So
Yeah.
that,
no, that's fine.